What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Millennial Rolodex. How's everybody doing this week? I hope everybody's doing well. It's like during the holidays, I've noticed that we're all kind of running around with our heads cut off, chicken with our heads cut off. We're all just running around, all kind of craziness and being all nuts. I don't know if you guys heard that, but there's a vibration on the table. My phone has a problem charging. My phone will vibrate each and every time it goes in and out of the charging port. Like the port is connected to it, and it would just start vibrating because stop charging. And then it will instantaneously vibrate because it is charging. So that's what you just heard. If you heard it, what was I talking about? I digress. Uh, if you haven't noticed by now, guys, if you click on this podcast, no matter what I want to talk about, you're going to go down so many different side streets of conversation that you're not planning for, or I'm not, because I'm certainly not planning for it. It's just your fault at this point if you're listening to this show and you're getting annoyed by my commentating. Because you know where it's going, guys. I really cannot stay on topic. So yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so it's just I feel like now, especially the holidays, this holiday specifically this is the end of a if if you guys stay with me now, this is the end of a 3 month holiday run where starting in October, every the last 3 months of the year are three holidays at the end of the month, and that's all we're focused on, 3 days out of the last 3 months of the year. So that's how we all close out the years. This is how we close out the year every year, guys. Just keep that in your mind. Halloween, we focus on that one day. What are you doing for Halloween? What are you doing for this? That's the start of October. November. Oh my gosh, what are we doing for Thanksgiving? What's everybody doing for Thanksgiving? Are you doing a Friendsgiving? What are you making? Blah, blah, blah. Where are we going? And then Christmas, what are you going for Christmas? What are you doing there? What are you getting for Christmas? Who are you getting for Christmas? What are we doing for Christmas? Christmas Eve. Then New Year's. And then after New Year's, everybody's depressed because now nobody's around. Everybody's beat from 3 months of getting whipped and by the holidays, and just by feeling like you need to run everywhere and do everything and not be in the moment. You're not in the moment when you're doing that. So I think everybody, let's take a breath. Let's listen to some Millennial Rolodex podcast and relax. Just breathe, guys. You don't need to do anything. That's the funny part. I mean, I I used to take acting classes, and my acting teacher, Alan, I remember it was during the holidays, and I went into class, and it was during the holidays, and we're talking about how like everybody's running around and everything feels so crazy. Like everybody's, oh, what are you doing? What's this? What's that? And I'll never forget. Alan goes, he's like, I'm not worried about. I think it was Christmas, and I think it was like in 2 weeks. He's like, I'm not worried about what's 2 weeks from now. I have stuff to do today, and I'll never forget that because that's such a prophetic thing to say. And I'm pretty sure I'm using the word prophetic wrong. I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean cool thing to say. It was such a cool thing to say because it really does. Even now, I still, like, I'm like, I'll catch myself in moments saying, oh, what am I going to get for my Kris Kringle? We do Kris Kringles with my family, which means you get one person a gift, and everybody picks a name from a hat, gets one person a gift. What am I going to get my Kris Kringle? What am I going to make to bring for food? This day. And so much energy is focused on like one day in 1 week from now that you stop focusing on the moment that you're in. And anytime you don't focus the moment that you're in, it kind of gets you anxious and you feel like uneasy. You feel very uneasy when you're not focused on the moment that you're in. And I think that's why during this time of year, everybody just feels so chaotic and anxious, is because we're all worried about one day. What are we going to do? How are we going to make that one day the best that it could be? And that's just a lot of pressure that we all don't need. So I would say everybody should take a little bit of a chill out a little, take a breath, and just realize, like, bro, you're all right. You're all good. My bro and broettes, you guys are all right, and we're all good, man. We're just here to have a good time. And just bring your love and your peace with you, and just have a good time with your friends and family and people that are in your life that you're spending time with. And if you do that every day, which you should really celebrate every day. It's so funny because in my mind, I'm on vacation and I'm off every single day of my life. Like I'm in permanent vacation mode all the time. So just the holidays feels like a just another day of beauty and vacation, honestly, just always a good time, always be trying, not that you have to have a good time, but always just, everything's all right, man. Like there's no pressure. Who cares? To quote Kanye West, my present is a present, kiss my ass. Who cares? The real gift is like each other and stuff, and being around family, friends, and people that you just enjoy being with and then bring you up, so, just spread love, guys. Honestly, it's not about, anything material. It's just about, fucking being all jazzed up on Mountain Dew, No, but really, guys, just take a deep breath. Everything's all right. We're going to spend today talking about nonsense and just chilling out. Think of it like this is, you're driving to work and you're just listening to an idiot talk for maybe 15 more minutes, I will say. Start the countdown now. And, we're just getting through this. We're all getting through this together, man, So how's everybody's week? How's everybody's holidays going? This is a one-way conversation. So if you are talking to yourself in public, I would suggest you look around and really notice, take inventory. And either now, if you start talking, if you have your earphones in, this is something that I used to do all the time when I'm driving. If you start talking to yourself and you notice people watching you, just pretend to be in a conversation and it will work. All right. Pretend to be like you're talking to somebody in a full blown conversation in your ear, and it will work every time. I'd still do this in the car. I don't put my headphones in, but I pretend like I'm talking to somebody in my loudspeaker through my speaker of the car, and I'm just having a full blown Q&A with myself. So yeah, you guys could take that if you want. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, this episode, I wanted to do something fun. I was thinking about going over my Spotify rap, because I just think it's really funny. I think it's cool. There's so many things in my Spotify rap that I have no idea that I listen to, specifically because, I'll tell you this right now, specifically because I put on playlists of things in the background, and I love that vibe that those playlists have, and it will be, when your Spotify breaks it down, it will break down that song. So if I hit a playlist a lot that I don't know any of the musicians or any of the song names, because it will be like a jazz song or a classical music song, then it will be the name of the artist with that song that played like 50 times I played on Spotify, and I have no idea who they are. So you don't know who you like and who you listen to a lot. So that's pretty funny. So I'll tell you right now. I'm going to go through a little bit. I'm just going to give you my top 5 genres right now. Number 5, singer-songwriter. That's a genre of music that the 5th most listened to genre of music that I listen to. Number 4, classical. Love me an ass load of classical music. I'm fucking sophisticated, guys. All right. Acid rock, which is like psychedelic rock, probably, if not my favorite, one of my favorites. I mean, I'm probably listening to that the most, honestly. Acid rock, love it. Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Jefferson Airplane, Ultimate Spinach, Donovan, like all those kind of guys. I love them. Number 2, orchestra music, like fucking another classy. I'm another classy kind of guy. And then number 1, this is my most listened to genre, guys, smooth jazz, because I'm just that guy. All right. I just love smooth jazz in the background, honestly. Cooking dinner, reading a book. I can't if I'm reading or writing, guys, I cannot listen to lyrics. I don't know how you guys are, but if you could listen to music or a podcast or something while you're reading or writing, God bless you. Mostly reading, actually. Writing, lyrical music I could vibe with, and I do vibe with, but reading, I can't focus on reading words while I'm listening to words come into my head. Pause. So yeah, smooth jazz. Love having that on in the background. That's my number one. That's my number one, and I'm a young man, and how young I am is how Spotify thinks I am. 78 years old, guys. And I think they're underestimating my age a little bit, because I feel like more of them 92. But yes, 78, and the reason they give is because it's, if you guys have Spotify, I think Apple Music does this too. It gives you a little description. I listen to music from the early 60s. So that's why I'm 78. The literal age that I am. So my top 5 songs of all of this year, 2025, was Une Calier, or Cellier, however you say that. Sounds French. Didn't know I was into French music, but that's by the Dale Cooper Quartet. And once again, that's from a playlist that I play a lot and I like in the background. It's kind of like a cool, like somber, jazzy vibe. This band I do know, and they are jazz, and I actually own this on vinyl. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass is the name of the band. A Taste of Honey is the name of the song. I love that song, and you know that song if you hear it. It's a very popular instrumental song. And side note, when me and Mara Lady moved in together, we bought a vinyl player at a thrift shop, and then we would go to thrift shops all the time and find vinyl records. And if this is a little inside joke, if you ever buy a record player and you go to thrift shops like Goodwills and stuff, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass is all over these things, because people must have had a shit ton of these in the past, and they now just discard them, or they died and their kids are like, who gives a shit, throw them all away, I don't care, give them to Goodwill. So it's a badge of honor to have a Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass album in your vinyl collection. And if I have to pick one, well, we'll get to that in a little bit. The number 3 song, I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love With You by Tom Waits. Tom Waits, one of my favorite. Once again, he's a singer-songwriter. He's one of my favorite artists of all time. I love him. I love his feeling. Charles Bukowski is, if not my favorite writer, one of my favorite writers of all time. And Tom Waits reminds me of a Charles Bukowski sort of vibe, but with music. I don't think they're very similar in probably how they talk or how they express themselves literally, but the vibe is very similar, which it kind of makes me think of just a guy in a smoky room drinking his drink, listening to some, maybe a jazz club or some kind of live music, some kind of soft live music playing. He's just drinking his drink, smoking a cigarette, and contemplating everything that's happened in his life, everything that's his life is right now, and everything that is possibly the gonna happen in the future of his life. And that's how I describe Tom Waits' music. And I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love With You is kind of like the best title for one of those kind of songs. Number 2 is, once again, this is Miles Davis, which he's a goat, and this is like some another French ass sounding song. But it's Miles Davis, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this, guys, because I do not speak French. I barely speak English. I speak mostly Brooklyn and Long Island. That's what I speak. New York, baby. Nuit sur les champs by Miles Davis. That's butchered the title of that, but Miles Davis classic. That song is beautiful. That whole vibe is beautiful. So I definitely suggest that. I'll probably just put that name in the description, because I'll put all these names in the description because I butchered that one so severely. And then the number 1 song that I listened to definitely is a very beautiful song. I could not pick this song out of a lineup because I just didn't know the name of it or even really the musician. But he is great, and this song is great. Benny Golson with Dear Kathy is the name of the song. Dear Kathy, Benny Golson, beautiful, playing the saxophone, jazz, fucking amazing song. So those are my top 5 songs. What else, guys? What else are we doing? Oh, here we go. Ready? My top 5 albums, and this is going to be funny. Very repetitive, guys. The album is The Heart of Saturday Night by Tom Waits. That was number 5. Number 4 is Incense. Let me see. I'm keeping this in. Incense and Peppermints by Strawberry Alarm Clock. So Strawberry Alarm Clock is the acid rock, the psychedelic rock band. They're from the early 60s, 70s. Beautiful, beautiful album. I've listened to it so much. It's just a feel good album. And the 60s, the early 60s, the 60s to the 70s, probably my favorite time in American music. My favorite time in music and films in general, I would say. Art was booming in America at that point, which was this kind of expansion of consciousness. And definitely Strawberry Alarm Clock is you could call them a mascot, or that is the sound. It kind of, you could call them the sound of that generation, because they definitely were specifically like the hippie generation during that Woodstock time. Because when you listen to their music, especially that album, Incense and Peppermints, I feel like you get transported to that time. And now I've never lived in that time. I was born in 1990, so that was very much before my time. But why it resonates with me is like, I just feel like there was something in that vibration of that music that brings you back there and makes you just feel good, makes you feel like, oh, I'm just like in a field, vibing out, breathing in the beautiful air with just people that I love, and we're just living our lives and just in harmony with each other. That's what that album sounds like. These next 2 albums, both by her, they're both my 3 and 2 albums. They're both by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Am I embarrassed? Not at all. Going Places is the 3rd album, and the 2nd album, which we own on vinyl, is Whipped Cream and Other Delights, and that's probably my favorite album cover of all time. That's the album that has the song A Taste of Honey on it, and Whipped Cream and Other Delights is the vinyl cover is just a hot broad with whipped cream all over her, like she's in a whipped cream dress and she's like licking whipped cream from her finger. The best album cover of all time. I don't care. My number 1 album last year was Closing Time by Tom Waits. So number 5 album by Tom Waits, number 1 album by Tom Waits. Closing Time, like I said, I'm going to reiterate this. His music feels so good. It really is a contemplation of the soul. Closing Time, that's what his song, most listened to song, I Hope That I Don't Fall in Love with You, was on. And Closing Time, I suggest you listen to that album, because it's first of all, anytime you listen to an older album, it's when albums were albums and not just individual songs. It was albums all put together. It was put together to tell kind of a story or make you feel a certain way. That album is just it is a contemplative album, and he's a contemplative artist. You just feel like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Us individually, like who are you, and who were you, who are you, and who could you become? And what does that even mean when you ask those questions? And who are the people in your life? What chapters are you in your life right now? What are the chapters to come? Like, and what have you lost? What have you gained? And it's just like it's like an introvert. It's an introvert or introspective. Like, you have to go inside. You're listening to the album, but you're going inside of yourself to really. It's like realistically, the visual that I always get is just like wandering around, going to a small town upstate where you have your local bar, restaurants and stuff. You're drinking, you go out of the bar at night, and then you just go across the street to your apartment above the store across the street. Like, that's the vibe, and you're just walking around, and you're just like, or you're just walking around town like at night, just running into people saying hi, and because that's probably what life is. We're all just drifting around in a small town at night, saying hi to each other and wondering what we're doing here. Closing Time, guys. Closing. If that made sense, I don't know. That was very abstract, but that's how I feel about that album. So Closing Time, Tom Waits, listen to that. My podcasts, top 5. This is very interesting. The Rest is History. That's my 5th podcast. Those guys speak about history. I think Tom and Dominic, I think those are the guys' names. They're pretty cool. They're pretty funny. They're British guys. I feel like you have to be a British guy to have a history podcast, because every history podcast that I've ever listened to is a British guy speaking the kings, if that's what they call it, speaking the queens. I don't know what they say. I don't really care, honestly. We seceded. Wait, no, that's the South. That's Civil War. This is Brooklyn history that I'm trying to do. We emancipate. I don't know. We did something to the Brit. We got rid of the British. in 1776. That's all I know. I'm pretty sure Ken Burns, the documentarian, would have a lot to say about that, but that I'm wrong. But 1776, that's when we got our Independence Day. So I don't have to know anything about Britain, but I do know that they are all historians. And if you're going to have a history podcast, you have to be British. And that's a pretty good one by two Brits. So the rest is history. They talk about ancient history. They talk about modern history. They try to link it together. They try to be funny. Well, they don't try to be funny. They are funny, I think, in looking at history. And I do think I think when you look at history, this is why I like to listen to history, a side note, because I think we find more similarities with people or we understand the human condition more when we just look backwards at people. Some people that did horrible things and were horrible, but we try to find out everything about them to just understand them and, understand ourselves, I think, and the good people back in the day, that they're probably more nuanced, probably because realistically there are no total good and no total bad people. Like anybody, like everybody, nobody's good, 100% good nor bad. Also history, fun fact. History is from the ancient Greek historian, the father of history, really, Herodotus' Histories, and history means investigations. So that's what history means, investigation. So that was Herodotus. He would go around. He was an ancient Greek guy. He went around listening to all these stories and investigating them. And that's why history is called history, because it means investigations. One man's investigations on what happened in the past. So fourth podcast, The Church of Tarantino. That's a pretty cool podcast if you're into films, and specifically the films of Tarantino. The Church of Tarantino is pretty cool because it talks about pretty much everything Tarantino, his they'll do categories like top 10 Tarantino scenes, top 5 dialogue, top 5 characters, top whatever, top scenes, top acting, top whatever. And then Tarantino has his own style of filmmaking. So they'll also do something like, oh, this is a Tarantino-esque film that was made. And then they'll review the film and say how it was like a Tarantino film, or if they liked it or didn't like it. So that's pretty cool. And then Tarantino was actually listened to the podcast and then was on the podcast. So congratulations to those guys or that guy, because he literally had a podcast and he loved Tarantino and he was passionate about his movies. And then Tarantino listened to it and came on his show. So that's a dream, right? A dream come true. That's pretty cool. Good on you, mate. Sometimes I turn Australian. The third podcast, The Movies That Made Me. That's a podcast, pretty much another film podcast about Josh. There's the hosts are Josh and Joe Dante. Joe Dante is the director of Gremlins. From my time, Small Soldiers. If you're a millennial, you love that movie, honestly. And they invite other filmmakers on, like actors, directors, producers, writers, on their podcast to bring up any films that they want. Just a number of films that they want to talk about, and it could be for any reason, and they'll talk about them. And it's called The Movies That Made Me, and that's a pretty good podcast too if you like film. The second most listened to is Tetragrammaton, but with Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is a music producer who's one of the people who started Def Jam Records and pretty much founded hip hop. He produced people like Beastie Boys, Jay-Z, Tom Petty, Johnny Cash, Leonard Cohen, all these guys, Run DMC, and he's like a really cool, philosophical, Zen kind of guy who loves talking to people. He loves talking to people in all walks of life, so that's a very cool alternative podcast with really interesting ideas and kind of just exploring different things. It's really cool. And then number one is Pure Cinema Podcast. That's another cinema podcast, and it's hosted by two guys. They just talk about films all day, and they bring up they have different like categories and stuff and different themes that they bring up with films. But the reason why I really love that podcast too is because they talk about films unabashedly. They don't care. They're not pretentious. They don't care if a movie is deemed good or bad or ugly. They talk about every movie, every kind of movie, and they'll say if they like it or didn't like it, and they have their own taste. And that's why I really enjoy it. There's no like pretense there. So that's what I think is really cool about that podcast. This is Spotify, FYI. So little side note, if this was YouTube, I would say my top 5. I would say these aren't the ones that I listen to the most. I would say Tetragrammaton definitely is. And Pure Cinema Podcast. But then I would say the other ones, because YouTube, it would definitely be the Tim Dillon show. I do love The Ringer. That's a movie one. Tim Dillon, he does his own show. He talks about current events. He's a fellow Long Island guy, and he's hilarious. And Tim Dillon actually is a genius. And just to speak about Tim Dillon for a second, every podcast he does is a little masterpiece work of art, and he's literally commenting on our society in a way that I think is we all feel, but we can't articulate the real satire that really just our world is at this point in time. So Tim Dillon, give him a listen to. He's a genius, and he is a voice of our generation, I really think. What did I say after that? The Ringer, that's another movie podcast. They do this thing called The Rewatchables, where they bring up movies from that they like love rewatching. That's a great one. The Big Pictures from that, which is about like they just talk about current movies coming out and stuff. So that's a pretty cool movie podcast platform thing. And then you have, what else? Oh, Conan. I've been really into Conan O'Brien's podcast, which he's doing his thing, man. He really pivoted from that late night. Like late night, if you like it or you don't like it, pretty much everybody's saying it's dying or whatever. I don't know if it is, but I know TV is hard out, honestly, and they're not really giving you anything. There's no really different personality there, like real personality there at this point. It's kind of all like one meshed together late night show. But they're really like 6 of them, but they just feel like one, and like nobody really watches them like they used to. But Conan is on YouTube, just like killing it on his podcast, and it's so funny. And I just listened to the one with Bill Hader. I listened to the one with Matthew Rhys, the actor, Timothy Oliphant. They're all just so funny. He's one of the funny. I used to love watching him when he was on. When he was a late night guy, and he's just still that funny, and that podcast is hilarious, and he just does whatever he wants. So Conan O'Brien, and then probably my number one, Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. They're just 2 hilarious guys around my age, a little older, and I just love them. So those are my podcasts. Guys. And let's see, is that it? Oh, here we go. Ready? My top 5 artists. So my number 5, once again, Boren and Der Club of Gore. That's definitely from a playlist, guys, because I do not know who that is, but they're definitely, I listened to their song because I said, who is this that I listen to that much? And they're just like a kind of ominous jazz kind of thing, like a very mellowy kind of like doom jazz. I think they describe self-proclaimed doom jazz players. Guys, you guys are fucking badass, out of control over here. Number 4, Mozart. That's right, bitches. I got a buttload of class. All right. Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Strawberry Alarm Clock, number 3. Tom Waits, number 2. And Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, number 1, obviously. That's just very repetitive. And that's it, guys. That is my 2025 rap playlist. And it's so funny. I just said 2025. I am having an issue where I cannot remember if it's 2025 or 2026, and now I'm sure in a month I'm not going to remember if it's 2026 or 2027. So I don't know if you guys also have that problem, or that's just me, but yeah. That's that. I think that's the end of the show. I love you guys. Enjoy your holiday. Maybe I think we're going to have one more episode before the holiday. I hope you enjoyed listening to my Spotify rap, and let me know your rap. I want to know your top artists and stuff, guys. So send me a little message about that, because I actually really am fascinated what people listen to. I really do. I think that is also cool how we get to know each other. That's why I always love knowing people's favorite movies and favorite musicians, honestly. Their favorite of things, like what they say is their favorite of things or most listened to of things, or what they've been listening to or reading or watching, is always fascinating to me. So kind of like vibes that you get to vibe with that person a little bit. So now you know me, and now you're vibing with me. You like me more, you don't like me more, you like me less, you don't like me less. I don't know. I love you guys either way. Have a great day.